Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Megan, and the romance adaptation I've chosen to discuss today is the 1975 adaptation of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. This film serves as a comedic satire of Arthurian romances, and while it doesn't follow any single romance perfectly, it centers around King Arthur's quest for the Holy Grail. There are two well-known sources that can be accredited with the influence of the Holy Grail in Arthurian romances. The themes surrounding the Holy Grail in Arthurian literature were introduced in the 12th century by Christian de Troyes in his work The Story of the Grail, which is also known as The Story of Percival. These themes were reworked in the 15th century with Sir Thomas Malory's Death of Arthur, which further expanded the themes of the Holy Grail in Arthurian literature. And this significantly influenced later romance adaptations, particularly Monty Python's as well. For this presentation, we'll consider the Monty Python film as a loose adaptation that draws from various Arthurian romances, particularly the works of de Troyes and Malory. Objectively, there's no academic consensus regarding the accuracy of the adaptation. On one hand, scholar J. Norris Lacey, for example, claims the adaptation holds the essence of the original romances together, but by a thread, strung together by random and disparate out-of-sequence Arthurian events. To contrast, Elizabeth Murrell believes that Monty Python and the Holy Grail is a reshaped adaptation of simply de Troyes' romance Percival, where all six actors of the Monty Python troupe make up the one romance character Percival. Despite these scholarly disagreements, the adaptation still retains several romance elements, like there's elements of the supernatural, like a bridge that ejects you from it if you can't answer 3 questions right, and God himself makes several appearances, among others. There's also Sir Galahad, who covers the theme of temptation when a large swarm of women try to coerce him into sex, and then he's rescued because he must remain pure in his quest and resist temptation. In the original romances, he's actually the only one that can find the Holy Grail because he remained pure and strayed away from temptation, but that's not really depicted properly in the film. However, what makes this film particularly significant, as well as different from original Arthurian romances, is its departure from the aristocratic audience. Romances were widespread among the aristocracy because they were written about aristocrats, by aristocrats, for aristocrats, and typically only those in the nobility could read, so romances were reserved for and interesting to a relatively small audience in comparison to today. However, Monty Python and the Holy Grail's adaptation became so widespread because it was written by the common people for the common people about the common people, and particularly for a British audience. Monty Python was already a well-known comedy troupe at the time, so they had an existing audience and acquired funding for the film by well-known British celebrities, which definitely attributed to the film's success, but also thanks to this being a film adaptation, it was shown in theaters and it was broadcasted through the BBC, which the troupe already had a pre-existing relationship with, so they got the media coverage from the BBC, and then since everyone kind of in Britain already knew who Monty Python was, it was more attractive in theaters, and then this allowed Monty Python to spread to the US, where it became an extremely popular comedy and was very successful in the box office as well. As an adaptation itself, it's quite loose, it completely strays away from the originals, and is unsuccessful in maintaining complete accuracy. However, the adaptation perfectly highlights how contemporary society may view and interpret romances, and remains a successful film in its own right, thanks in large part to its comedic appeal. The comedic elements of The Holy Grail play a crucial role in its success. The film blends various types of humor, such as political and religious satire, slapstick, puns, deadpan delivery, and sexual innuendos, ensuring that there's something for everyone in the audience to enjoy. A point discussed by scholar Brian Cogan is that the Monty Python troupe sought to create a balance between historical accuracy and modern absurdity. They did this through an accurate depiction of the Middle Ages, while populating it with more contemporary appeals like anachronistic characters such as historians and modern policemen, and unrealistic supernatural figures that you wouldn't find in an original Arthurian romance, like a flesh-eating bunny. As John Cleese, a member of the Monty Python troupe, noted, the film is filled with angry political crap, which Cogan believes reflects the counterculture of the 1960s. A prime example of this is towards the beginning of the film when a peasant explains to King Arthur that legitimate political authority comes from the people, not a watery tart lobbing a scimitar at you. This exchange is amusing not only for its absurdity, but also for the underlying commentary on political theory, transforming the humor into something a bit more profound. I'd like to take this further by adding that the juxtaposition of medieval romance tropes with contemporary political ideas highlights the comedic tension between these two worlds and the change in audience. These Arthurian tales no longer appeal on a mainstream level to the general public and need to reflect contemporary attitudes to remain popular outside of a classroom setting. King Arthur and the Holy Grail was originally popular as a comedy skit with a British audience because it was also part of the school curriculum, so many jokes that were made throughout the comedy or many jokes that were embedded into the film itself were understood by the British audience because they were things that they had read about or learned in school as well. But primarily, the film was successful because, particularly with a British audience, because the film was written about British commoners, by British commoners, for British commoners. While Monty Python and the Holy Grail may not be a faithful adaptation of any single Arthurian romance, it's undeniable that Monty Python and the Holy Grail is considered one of the best comedies of all time. Numerous publications have ranked it among the top 10 comedies of all time, showcasing how it has not only entertained millions and stretched farther than its original British audience, but it has also sparked controversy and conversations about authority, society, and the nature of storytelling and the use of comedy to do so.